Hello, everybody. Melissa K. Range here today, talking about embracing the darkness. And we are in the shadow right now. The shadow is going on. And if you're not familiar with the shadow, then maybe you just want to think about some areas within you that need to come to the light. And maybe they're areas that you haven't spoken with anybody about before, or you feel shame, or you feel guilt over, or you feel out of alignment with what really could be possible for you. And I have walked through a lot of darkness in my life. And I'm sure most, if not all of us, have walked through some darkness. Yet, did we heal it? Did we bring it to the surface? Did we talk about it? Did we share? Did we really get to the crux or the heart of the problem in order for us to heal it, in order for us to let go of it, in order for us to forgive, or any of those things that really help open us up and make our hearts more whole, and for us to be more happy and feel more complete as a human being? If you haven't done this, and right now, because we're in the shadow, and I can tell this for myself because today is a pivotal day for me now after the last 3 years. My father passed away today, 3 years ago. And then tomorrow is the death of my mentor 2 years ago. And then the day after that is another pivotal day for me because many years ago on that day was the day I moved out of my husband at the time's house. So this is a very pivotal week for me now. And I knew this morning when I woke up that the next 3 days were going to be a lot of thoughtfulness coming, a lot of remembering, a lot of understanding deeper myself and where I was and how I got here. That doesn't mean I dwell upon it or I go into a sort of depression. It just is a time to remember that I walked through some initiations, through some rites of passage, through some, when I left my ex-husband, it was a very scary time because it was very unknown. I didn't know what was to come for me. And so what I have learned to do, and I would encourage every single one of you to do this work, is I've learned to embrace the darkness. I've learned that when I start to see the darkness, and it can even be right now because every night around 5 o'clock, it gets pretty dark. It's really getting dark. And as we move to the solstice, which is in a couple of weeks, until we reach that space, we're in that dark a lot, halftime day, halftime dark. And it can be scary for a lot of people. And I know that when I pass away, I am not going to be going to the light. I am choosing not to be told that I need to replay my whole life and try to look at it and say, oh, you need to fix this or you need to change that and you need to go back. I'm not going to be tricked by the light. There's a website called Tricked by the Light. I would highly encourage you to go look at that. But I'm not going to be tricked in that way because I know that going into the darkness is okay. And my consciousness does, of course, still work and it will survive. But if I don't begin to embrace the darkness within myself, I'm not going to be really fully living here, which anyway, this is a death place. It's filled with death. And I don't mean that as in people dying. I mean that as this is a simulation of death here. Like there's a lot of death that we are always surrounded with. Death. I mean, it's just part of this experience that we're having here. And I'm learning so much about what it really means to be here. And I feel as though I'm coming to like a culmination of understanding what I have been studying and what I have been remembering or relearning over the last 13 years, 14 years, because I don't want to come back to this place. And if I don't embrace my darkness, if I don't go to those places of maybe like I had some greed when I was younger. There was a lot of greediness about me and where I was in my work. And I had a lot of shame at some point in my life. And I had guilt that I needed to release. And I had parts of myself that I didn't love, of course. And so I needed to find those places to love. And if I didn't go into the darkness, if I didn't begin to even think, oh, can I embrace parts of those pieces of myself that are broken or they are needing healing, and if I didn't even start to delve into that or really get connected to those places within me, I wouldn't be where I am today. And I know where I am today is going to help me to live the rest of my existence here, but it's also going to help me when I transition. And the more I listen to people that I am following and watching and listening, the more of them I'm really understanding that I am learning and understanding something about this place that I never knew before. And there is a lot of negative polarity here. There is a lot of, and that's not even the right terminology. There is just everything's inverted here. And I keep hearing from my astrologer lady that I follow to flip everything, like everything you've been taught. You've got to flip it. You've got to see it from a different perception. You have to start discerning. You have to investigate. You have to read. You really have to do some work. And what I'm thinking is a lot of us that want to make this our last game playing event here on this planet, we're really waking up. We're really understanding, hey, this is what this place is. It's not pretty. I've been here many times. I'm done with this game and I want out. And so when the time comes, I'm making a choice, and we all have choices. I mean, you can choose to embrace your darkness, or you can choose to live with those, for lack of a better term, demons maybe that consume you. And I don't know what those demons are, but maybe you want to start really looking at them, journaling about why they bother you, about who has maybe bothered you in your life, and what you can do to change that or to understand why you feel that way. And I don't think it's a one day sort of thing. I think it's a process that you have to go through, and you have to want to really change those pieces of yourself that are not in alignment with that loving, convicted belief person within yourself, that soul, that whatever you want to call it, oversoul. I don't even like the term higher self anymore, because your soul, and I'm pointing in here because I feel like, our soul is encased in this aura, but we really have to work on ourselves. And that is why we're here. Like, we're passing through this place, sometimes many thousands of times, I'm discovering, really, and I'm not kidding you. And there's a cycle to this, and I want out of the cycle. And I know all these people I'm following and listening to, they have finished their cycle as well, and they're saying, I'm out, I'm done, I've been here thousands of times, lived through thousands of experiences, I've had my fun, I've played the game, I've been at the adventure, and I'm done with this realm, with this place that really is not governed, if you want to say that, or run by a loving being. And there is a loving being, I believe, out there, a creator that is kind of over everything. But we came to this place to experience some stuff, and I just don't want to experience it anymore. But the way out, the key part of it, is to embrace the darkness. It really is. And then to shift your perception and to get out of fear. If you are in fear, you're not embracing the darkness. If you have fear over things, and I don't know what they are, but if you've got fear around something like death, then you need to work on it. You need to talk to somebody about it. And I know that's really, with my coaching, what I've walked through, and what I've been contemplating is, you got to have a mentor or somebody to hold your hand and walk with it, walk in it with you, because that really does make a difference, and it really does help. And it's like helping carry your burden for the time being until the burden is gone. And when you can find those other sort of travelers going with you, or facilitators or guides, because we have had many of these guides here. We've had them. They've been here, and now either they're dead or they're dead. They're gone. But there's other people here that I'm finding are like guides, and they're bringing the information. And I believe it's going to get more intense. And I believe we are really going to have to step it up if we want to get out of this realm and go to another realm and never have to come back here. And I don't think a lot of people are really doing the work to do that. And it's also a choice. You have to make a choice. And I said that I could create exit the realm plans with people, because I think you really have to know, hey, I don't want to come back here. And you have to, there's a channel that I watch a lot called Forever Conscious Research, and I would highly suggest that you go watch it. And it's about near-death experiences. And these people don't go to the dark, they go to the light, and then they're tricked in the light. And they're tricked by the light. And this guy has done so many of these. He commentaries people's near-death experiences, and it's fascinating, and I would highly suggest that you go listen to it. That's one example. And the second one is that guy that I have been listening to. His name is Archaix, and he has tons of information on research and things like that. So I would recommend that you go start listening to maybe some of his stuff. And then maybe there's some spiritual books that you want to read, because I think that some of these spiritual books that I've read, I don't think really are good for me, or well, and at the time they were good for me, but some of them I wouldn't recommend to people anymore. And I think there's a lot of false beliefs out there, and getting us keyed up to think, oh, I'm going to come back to this place because it's going to be all beautiful and wonderful and 5D. And I don't think that anymore. I don't believe that I'm meant to come back to this place as a more spiritually evolved being. I'm going somewhere else. And I have done this embracing the darkness. Every time there's an opportunity for me to release something or to grow, I'm doing the work. And I'm reading, and I'm studying, and I'm listening, and I'm discerning. And I don't know how much time there is for people to do this work before they're possibly leaving this planet and then coerced into coming back, because there's this event called a Phoenix event that comes every 138 years. So I would highly encourage you to do some of this shadow work, or do some of this embracing the darkness, and really start looking into your spiritual beingness, into who you really are. I mean, who are you? Who are you? Do you ever sit and think about who you are and the power that you have and everything about us? I mean, even I'm going through all of this trauma now coming up because of the births, like I said before. So I'm looking at the trauma that I experienced during my births of my children, so that I can clear that. And there is some darkness in there that, I didn't have a voice. I didn't know things. And I'm trying to rectify that within myself and say it's okay. And it's having some compassion for myself, and that I just didn't know what choices I had, right? And life is about choice. And it goes back to that free will. And people don't understand that we do have free will, and we don't have to be tricked into something that we don't want. And I listened to this podcast called Crow 777, and I would recommend that one too for you to listen to. But the man that is in charge of it, Crow, he always says that we always have an opportunity to make a choice, to live our free will. But so often we are coerced into doing things that we don't want to do. But we do it because either we feel bad, or we feel guilty, or we're not sure how to make an authoritative decision for ourselves. I mean, these are all things that we need to work on if we want to make sure that we are doing the best and good for ourselves in getting, having a life here that is fruitful and abundant and prosperous and loving. And I think that is possible, but also when we leave this place. And all of the things that we've experienced, so many right now in this time that we're in, drive me crazy because there's so many deceptions, and we continue to give our energy away to people, places, and things that are really not loving and not for our highest and best good. And you have to really study this, and people aren't taking the time to study. And I wish you really would, because I think it's important for us to know where our soul goes when we transition. But even like I said, this time right now can be a challenge for me the last couple of years, because everything is inverted and there is so much trickery and deception. And when you think that you're worshiping something a lot of times that's good and loving, it's not. And some of these people out there that are promoting things in the world that you think are good or loving, they're not. And we have to really come to terms with the fact that sometimes people aren't out there for our highest and best good. They're out there for themselves, for your energy. They're out there for money, for power, whatever it is. But this place isn't what we think it is, or it definitely isn't what I guess that I thought it was. But as you open your eyes and embrace the darkness, you can then see the great pieces and the wonderful parts of it, and how you can come out of maybe feeling really down, like I did, feeling really down and wondering, where am I? Why did I come to this place? And you can start then to uncover and to pull apart and peel the onion, or, remove the veil, so that then you can have more light in your life. And it's not just light, it's more, like I said, more conviction. It's more discernment. It's more just standing in your power, empowered. And you can then move forward every day in your life with those attributes working for you here. And you won't comply to things that are not good for you. And you will stand your ground when you know something is affecting you or your family in not a good way, and that you are being deceived and tricked. And you will begin to see the commercials that show you that you're unwell constantly, and how those now are really being put forth because so many people are having issues with health that they're almost like a cover-up. So you will begin to see all these things, and you will understand that there are forces or negative entities or forces out there that really don't want your best and highest good. And you know what? Sometimes that would make me really sad. And people, I'm sure, would say, why are you saying that, Melissa? Why isn't everything love and light? Well, I think a good example of this is somebody from my own personal life who I thought would be the most loving, kind, great, wonderful person, and it didn't turn out that way. And it really didn't have anything to do with me. It had everything to do with that person. But the brunt of the, if you want to call it, abuse. Okay, abuse. The brunt of the negativity was put upon me. And so I think that we have to learn to see where we need to also create boundaries, and where we need to stand in our power, and if we need to leave a situation. And as you build yourself up and embrace the darkness in yourself, well, then what happens is you flower. You become this amazing, wonderful, divine, you understand you're this amazing, wonderful, divine creature of the Creator, and you're a co-creator, and you're a being, and you know how to go out and then do what you want with your life in the way you want it, and you're very focused and convicted. But you have to do the work. And like I said before, you've got to do the work for here and now in this place. And then when you leave, you won't be afraid. You will have all those pieces in place that you lived here, and you'll be able to go there and you'll still have all those pieces in place in your consciousness, and you'll understand, and you'll be like, no, I'm not going to get tricked again, or I'm not going to get tricked here. So I really want you to think about that. And I do want you to think about how important this really is, because it is really, really important. And I know so many people don't spend time doing this work, and it is really, really, really important. I cannot stress that enough, that you are a divine creature of the Creator, the all-loving Creator, not the being that runs this place. So there's just a lot, and I could talk and talk and talk and talk, but take a breath and embrace the darkness. And you got a couple of weeks left before the solstice. Actually, I don't know when the solstice, what day it is. I think it's a Wednesday maybe. But, 2 weeks from today. So take time to do some work on yourself. And if you need a facilitator, coach, guide, send me an email at melissa@melissakrange.com. And I hope you are having a lovely day. And I will look forward to connecting with you again soon. See you soon.